And now turning to Sri Lanka, the country has reached a preliminary agreement with the International Monetary Fund for a loan of about 2.9 billion US dollars as the country seeks to end its worst economic crisis in decades. The global lender says the agreement is subject to approval by management and is contingent on Colombo following through on previous agreed measures. The two-year program aims to raise government revenue and introduce new pricing for fuel and electricity, among other goals. The island nation has faced acute shortages of food, fuel, and medicine. Citizens stormed government buildings earlier this year, effectively forcing the resignation of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Sri Lanka has been facing an acute economic crisis. For more on the effectiveness of the IMF bailout and how it will help solve the crisis, we're joined by Srimal Fernando, a specialist in international relations and an advisor on new regional diplomacy in Colombo, joining us. So what more can you tell us about the IMF's bailout plan? The inflation rate in Sri Lanka surged to over 60% in August. Food inflation alone jumped over 90%. How will the bailout plan help with the situation?
Yes, thank you very much. The IMF and the Sri Lankan government came to an agreement, and a $2.9 billion bailout plan has been expedited in the next 48 months. In this IMF deal, the IMF expects the Sri Lankan authorities to reduce the budget deficit from 9.1% to 6.9% and increase the state revenue to 11.9%. And also bring down the GDP debt ratio below 100% from 114%. Also, central banks act as well as a banking act to stabilize the banking network will be also in place. Whilst we see that the country is going through really difficult hardship where the World Food Programme has estimated about 6.3 million people will be vulnerable. That is, 3 in every 10 person will be food insecure. So the government needs to look into the vulnerability. However, in an interim budget, just few days before, the government kind of expedited certain loans which will provide for about 1.7 million people who are below the poverty line, called the sum of the recipients about 7,500, and they have identified about 61,000 families to provide 10,000 rupees a month. Also, the multilateral organizations like ADB is providing emergency assistance loan of US dollars 200 million to provide assistance. But however, the IMF will not immediately bring relief. It is just a confidence building measure to the country which has seen economic turmoil. So mainly this will bring a relief for the economy, but for the people's welfare, the government needs to implement stronger welfare policies to take out the people out of this crisis.
So what are the reasons for the ongoing economic crisis? Or these fundamental issues will be resolved in the future?
It depends on the government. I mean, this current president as well as the government has a 2.5 year mandate. Within that period, they have to bring political stability. That is to have provincial council elections as well as general elections. The main reasons was to see this situation was due to mismanagement, borrowing, as well as weaker monetary and fiscal policies. And whereas $8 billion reserve came down to $2 billion within a very short time, also the COVID pandemic and the tourism industry, which had a turnover of $4 billion came down. And also worker remittance of $7 billion came down. So basically the country ran out of foreign currency. So the purchasing power was weak. So the inflation rose. So higher prices for oil and all these things created this chaos. And now it's the policies which are implemented is slowly bringing normalcy to the economic conditions, but not for the socio and political situation. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your insights. And that was Srimal Fernando, a specialist in international relations and an advisor.